Hello, everyone, and welcome to Up the Turnpike's post-game show. As much as things change, everything stays the same, doesn't it? Um, you'll hear this theme throughout the post-game show, but um, it's just postseason or just preseason. It's just the preseason, but it still sucks. It still really sucks to lose 6-4 to the Rangers when we were up 4-1. We were up 4-1 and we still lost. Walter here. Season is over before it gets started. It certainly feels that way now, doesn't it? It's all doom and gloom right now. We were high. We had we were on cloud 9, and then we came crashing down in the final 7 minutes of the game when Hedel scored at 13:50. From there, they just started going in nonstop. But welcome to the post-game show. The format of this is we talk over the game itself. We go over the box score. Usually Matt is here, but he's got his whole New York Jets thing. I don't think that's a real team, but whatever. He does a New York Jets thing on Tuesdays, so we just got me today. But we're going to take half an hour to just kind of digest this preseason game. And again, for those just tuning in, I will continuously frame this. It is just preseason, but your feelings are still valid. Your feelings are still valid. We're seeing it here from Vegeta with the pinky. I love that name. WTF? I can't with this damn team. Yes, I agree. Walter also, they just never play normal games. They just don't. To recap, you see it on the screen there. The Islanders lose 6-4 in preseason. And we'll get to the lineups in a bit because that's going to matter as well. They lose 6-4 after being up 4-1. We were up 4-1 at 7 minutes and 24 seconds into the third period. We had this. We had the game, and then we just let it slip away. So let's just debrief the game slowly, period by period, kind of rehash the whole thing. We'll get into some people who stood out and maybe some who didn't, just slightly. But I want to keep that for our Patreon show. So for those of you who aren't aware, we have a Patreon show where we have our podcast twice a week. That's patreon.com/up the turnpike. Almost said eyes on aisles. Up the turnpike. And on that, we have what we call Eagle or Duck. Remember, Patrick Roy last year called Bo Horvat an Eagle for having that excellent game and standing up for his teammate. Well, we have a show dedicated to that where we talk about the players who stood out and those who did not on Eagle or Duck. So we're going to keep that for that show. In this one, we're just debriefing the game. So let's get to it here. Starts off pretty gosh darn well. Well, maybe not that well. We don't score in the first period, but Matthew Barzal, ton of opportunities in that first period. That top line of Barzal, Horvat, and Duclair looks fantastic. They look fantastic today. They didn't get any scoring done in the first period, but nor did the Rangers. But what stood out is that the Islanders outskated the Rangers throughout most of the game. They were just on them. It was embarrassing at one point how the Islanders were just all over them. Like Walter said, pretty much dominated. We pretty much did dominate for most of the game. Most. There's a very specific portion of the game where we very much did not. But I digress. First period, not a whole lot to talk about, not a lot of scoring. There's that obviously the fight. Philip Hedel goes down after taking contact from Scott Mayfield. Now, I know Rangers fans were screaming to the high heavens, dirty hit, knee on knee. It very much was not dirty. It very much was not knee on knee. Thankfully, Hedel could continue and play the game later on in the game, but still he came back. There was a fight where Scott Mayfield really just took over and overpowered Ryan Lindgren easily. So it wasn't much of a contest there. As Walter says, I totally agree. It was clean. And yes, Vegeta with a binky. Absolutely. Thankfully, Hedel was able to come back. You don't want to see anyone getting hurt. specifically in the preseason where the games don't matter, right? Like that. And for him specifically as well, he'd miss so much time last year with an injury. You would hate for him to fight back and come back and get to peak health again. And then boom, day one, out with an injury. That would suck so much. So yes, glad he is back. Glad he was able to continue. So that is ideal, but nothing really crazy in that first period. The scoring as well, or the shots, you'll see here, 9-7 in favor of the Islanders. Decent period for the Islanders. And then the second period happened where our top line really started to take over. Clearly, just when you look at the score sheet here, Barzal, 2 goals, Duclair, 2 assists. That first one specifically was fantastic. This the give and go. Absolutely fantastic. Grant Hunt gets one that deflects off someone else, I believe. No, I wouldn't count it as his goal. But the Islanders were absolutely dominating proceedings. At one point, shots were 21-7 in favor of the 21-12 in favor of the New York Islanders. It was just pure domination by the Islanders. I want to bring up the underlying numbers, just kind of hammer in that domination, if you will. And you can tell I was searching for some sneakers here. So if I go to their game, here is, and we look at the summary in terms of the expected goals here. The Islanders had 2 expected goals by the second period. By the end of the second period, they had 2 expected goals. They had 3, so they had scored more than expected. Obviously, that Grant Hutton one, not expected. To the Rangers, 0.73 expected goals. That is what you call domination. Look at that. In terms of the Corsi as well, the Islanders were really into it. The game was completely in the Rangers' end, and this kind of leads back to how much the Islanders completely outskated these New York Rangers, specifically early. It was outstanding. The expected goal battle, look at that, all in favor of the Islanders here. You can see that trend line right there. Oops, sorry, share this tab instead. I'm really sorry. I thought that my browser was following along with the tabs that I had, but it was not. Let me show you again what I was doing. Let me slow down for you. The Islanders expected goals in the first 2 periods, 2. For the Rangers, 0.73. Outstanding stuff. And then you can see here that gray trend line. That's the Corsi 4 at 5-on-5 for the Islanders. Looks great. The expected goals even better for the Islanders. Obviously, it starts going to shit at the end there. Not too great, but we'll get to that. We're only in our second period here. Let's flip back, share this tab instead. Again, the shots 12-9 in favor of the New York Islanders. Looking good. And yes, Vegeta, absolutely. Varley would have won for us. Varlamov was outstanding. He didn't have to do too much, but he was outstanding. He played half the game, which is standard at this period of time. And then Tikkanen came in relief 10 minutes or so into the second period. And it's not that's not when things started coming off, but Tikkanen wasn't great. But yes, Varley would have absolutely won us that game. Just going back to the comments here, Walter, absolutely. Panarin did leave the game, didn't come back. He probably picked up a little bit of a knock, and they're just not going to risk it. Just whatever. You sit, bud. We don't have to risk it. I think we would have done the same thing if Matthew Barzal had picked up something. So, yeah, the skating, all in favor of the Islanders. Everything looked fantastic for us. And then comes the third period. Zach Jones scores 6 minutes into the third period. Puts the Rangers up on the board. Bad play along the boards from us between Noah Dobson and Etuliukas. Noah pinches, probably shouldn't have. Etuliukas is kind of stuck at the point there. Does a bad pass, gets intercepted, and it goes. Good goal by him. By Zach Jones. They're on the board. Whatever. We're up 3-1. Doesn't matter. A minute later, Bo Horvat scores. Probably shouldn't have counted, but whatever. We'll take it. We were about to go on the power play anyways. He scores. We're up 4-1. We are all feeling confident and chesty at this point. And rightfully so. We're up 4-1 and we're dominating proceedings. We look fantastic in this game. And then the wheels start coming off because we start feeling chesty. Not just the fans, but the players. The players start feeling chesty. They slow down. They're not hunting pucks as much. They're not on them as much. And so you can see the momentum shift and you can see the tide of the game heading towards the Islanders' end. They get a power play. They score in the power play almost instantaneously. Our penalty kill was awful. And yes, Vegeta, we have been here before multiple times, but preseason. It's preseason. I'm not going to go too crazy. It is preseason. Doesn't mean it doesn't suck. It doesn't mean it doesn't feel bad. It's still just preseason. But so Heel scores right away on the power play. It's like they win the draw. They immediately start pushing us into collapsing us and narrowing down the field of play for us. And then they score. It was just almost automatic. But it doesn't stop. 3 minutes later, Zach Jones again, a blast from the point, because we're not getting on pucks. We're not challenging players. We're not first to battles. We're not even second to battles. We're so far behind the play, it's not even funny. And at this point, Chris Kreider scores, but they've pulled the goalie. They pulled the goalie at like 350, so they might already even have the extra skater when Zach Jones scores. I'm just not entirely sure. Then Chris Kreider scores. And then a minute later, Adam Enstrom scores. And then a minute after that, Chris Kreider seals it with an empty netter. And we went back from up 4-1 to losing 6-4. And it was not fun. It was not fun. We were the team. We were the better team for 90% of this game. And then for that 10%, State of Survival wants to bring back Clutterbuck. I don't know if he changes things, but hey, man, can we not get him on a PTO? With all due respect to Matt Martin, I don't think he was very effective out there. Although, how do I want to say this? Most of our lineup doesn't play come the start of the season. Most of the line, 50% of our lineup does not start for us. Whereas I'm pretty sure 100% of the players playing for the Rangers today are going to start the regular season. So a little bit of an imbalance there. Walter confirms there were 2 6-on-5 goals. So that's kind of, sucks. And then, yes, Clutterbuck is awesome, but is old. As a fellow oldie, a 40-year-old, he is old. Sorry, Cal, you old, just like me. But we lose 6-4. I believe we won the expected goals battle. We did, at least at 5-on-5. Let me switch the tab here. 2.58 to 1.3 for the Rangers. So yeah, we win the expected goals battle at 5-on-5 in all situations. We barely win 3.05 to 2.78. Tikkanen did not have himself a great game. When we look at the game stats, shots were in our favor, faceoffs in theirs, power plays. Our power play stunk. It was so bad. But again, 50% of our guys aren't going to be playing the regular season. That means 50% of that power play isn't going to be there at the regular season. So I'm not too worried about this. Penalty minutes, much more for them. Obviously, we had 4 opportunities. Hits, much more for them. Makes sense. Again, we had 28 shots on goal to their 24. If we look at the Corsi battle at 5-on-5, we win it. So we have control of the puck more often. They're just going to, by the nature of how the game is played, they're going to have more hits. So I'm not worried about the hit share being 17 to 25 in their favor. Blocks 8-5. Giveaways horrendous, 23 to 19. You can tell it's preseason hockey because there's no puck management. Takeaways 10 to 8 in their favor. Now, so Walter says, what does he say? Late games, Roy should play Horvat, Duclair, Barzine, closeout minutes. Yeah, I'm not against that. I'm really not. But let's not try to, we should be doing this, we should be doing that too much. It is a preseason game, and 50% of our lineup isn't going to be there game one, whereas 100% of their lineup will be. So let me look at the box score in terms of the players. I like to look at this to kind of close out the show. Just to kind of get, maybe not close out, but at least talk us through some of the standout players and some of the not standout ones. But obviously top line was fantastic. Duclair, Barzal, I don't know, I said it in French, and Horvat, that's a combined 5 points together, at least a +1. They've got 10 shots of our 28. That's huge. But after that, man, it really kind of falls off. Sure, Hudson Fasching's got a point, and so does Casey Zizekas, but that was some lucky points. Those were lucky points. Let's be honest, right? Complete luck. that shouldn't have gone. I mean, that shouldn't have gone in, but they were lucky that it did go in. -3. I don't like plus minus in and of itself, but I think for this specific performance, for this specific player, it needs to be said. Pierre Engvall at a -3. My man was silent. We talked about this on our Patreon Discord channel. P.S. We have a dedicated Discord channel on our Patreon where we chat during the game. We have live watch parties during Islanders games. So sign up today, patreon.com/uptheturnpike. -3 for Pierre Engvall, who was anonymous. A guy on a 7-year contract, or 6 years, I guess, left on it now, shouldn't be as anonymous as he was, considering who was in the lineup. Like, just look at some of these names. Martin, PTO. Fasching, ? McLean, ? Karlstrom, not playing. Foudy, or Foodie, whatever you pronounce it. Probably not. Liukas, no. Cizikas, absolutely. William Zuffo, no. But on him, I'm putting a pin on it. I'm going back to another comment that was made earlier by Matt C. Matt C says Zuffo had a good game skating, improved from last year. His skating was already good last year. And this is not me shooting down your comment, because the one fault with his game was skating when we drafted him. But when he turned pro, his second year, holy cow, his skating was better. And his skating is even better this year. I agree with you, Matt, that his skating was good and it stood out. It was noticeable today. His decisions off the puck weren't fantastic, but he's still a rookie, and that's fine. The fact that his skating was the one weakness he had in terms of his like physical attributes, and he fixed that for sure. Check mark there. Passing by Williams full, but not a whole lot more there. I know Etolukas -2. I'm not too worried about him. He is just going to be a fourth liner if he ever gets to the NHL. And I don't think he'll ever get himself something like a 7-year contract like Pierre Engvall, who's a -3. On the blue line, I thought everyone looked okay on the blue line. I really like Scott Mayfield's game. It was simple. It wasn't overcomplicated. He's not making these like 40, 50-foot passes to someone breaking out into the neutral zone where it inevitably gets either intercepted or goes for an icing. So great job by Scott Mayfield is simplifying that game. I get that he's got the 7 penalty minutes, but whatever. Like he stood up for himself and stood up for himself well. I see that State of Survival has something here on Engvall. Prediction: we end up trading or buying out Engvall within a year. Oof. I'm not oofing at the comment. I'm oofing at the possibility of that being. Could you imagine? Like, I'm not saying you're wrong, because you're probably not. The way he has been playing recently has not been good. And this is just game number 1 for him in preseason. And last year wasn't great either, right? In the playoffs, it wasn't good either. He needs to do something. I don't know what it is, but I guess just listen to what the coaches are trying to tell him, because they clearly know what they want from him and he's just not doing it. So that needs to change lickety split. But going back to the defense in terms of the box score here, Chalowski looked okay, but not a whole lot there from him. Like I know we don't have any ice time here, but I'm sure he's going to have quite a bit because of he played on the power play. He was the second power play defenseman, but he wasn't great. I don't think he'll get. He's not in contention. Samuel Bodzik does not have to worry about Dennis Chalowski, or Chakowski, as Sam Rosen was calling him on the broadcast. Romanov looked okay. A few shaky moments, but you saw there was just kind of these communication moments between him and Noah Dobson where they're like, okay, where do you want to be again? And then they end up figuring themselves out. So I'm not too worried about that. Grant Hutton gets a goal, fluky as fluky can get, but otherwise Grant Hutton was steady Eddie back there, just like partner Isaiah George, who was not noticeable. But when it comes to a defenseman, that's totally fine. When it comes to a forward like Pierre Engvall, that's not what you want to see. You don't want to see him just kind of wilt and become anonymous. You don't want to see that, even in a preseason game. And again, it is preseason. Not too many takeaways from this game. Nothing to take home with you and stew with for months on end. It's just a preseason game, but you don't want to see that in your first preseason outing for Pierre Engvall. Just going back to the comments, because I see there's a few here. Matty C says, I feel like Foudy or Foodie. I prefer saying Foudy. I've heard people say Foodie. I'm not going to do it. I can't. I feel like Foudy and Gauthier are sleeper picks for the 13th forward spot. Both have played very well in their showings. I totally agree. I liked the write-up that Stefan had on Julien Gauthier today. And Julien Gauthier has been noticeable in training camp. He was noticeable in that one game. I know that he gets the goal off that awesome Tsiplikov assist, but he did everything else well in that game. So Julien Gauthier looked okay. In terms of battling for that 13th forward spot, I would rather give it to either, like Matt C says, Foudy or Gauthier over Matt Martin. Love Matt Martin, but it's done, man. It's done. We can't have a guy who will have 5 fights over the year. No, we got other guys who can do that and more on the team. We don't need Matt Martin to do that. So I would rather these two guys, they just bring more if they can play to their potential, that is. And then Walter says there'll be compliance buyouts in 26 with the new CBA, so we don't have to worry about buying out Pierre Engvall and, that's sitting on the cap for a bajillion years. So, yeah. And then finally, the goalies. Semyon Varlamov, 9 shots, stopped all 9, played 29 minutes and 51 seconds. He was perfect. He really was. He was absolutely fantastic. There's no concern there from Semyon Varlamov if Ilya Sorokin has to wait a couple of games because he had that back injury or the back surgery takes him out of the season to begin with. We can roll Semyon Varlamov for the first couple of weeks. I'm not worried about that at all. The showing today showed that. We'll see over the preseason. But what I like about how the Islanders preseason is scheduled, let me bring it up here. I don't know if you are all familiar with the Islanders preseason schedule because it's a little wonky. Let me switch tabs. So you see they've got the 2 games in 2 nights, in 3 nights, sorry. They got another break, back-to-back, 2 days break. They play Philadelphia. But where it gets interesting is after that. If I go to October here, they have one more game against the Rangers, October 4th, and then another really long break before they start on the 10th. So there's a big break here for Semyon Varlamov to get a couple of reps in, to stay fresh, and then take a break, get that rest he needs as a 36-year-old to still be in game day shape for another slew of games, as Ilya Sorokin does, as Vegeta with a Binky says, recover from a surprise back surgery. That was all kind of thrown on us last second with that back surgery. And then just to tie a bow on the goalie, and then I'll get to the comments here. And please throw the comments, whatever you thought of the game, throw them in, and I'll get to them over the next couple of minutes here. I plan on staying on for about half an hour before I got to shoot on over to our patron show where we do Eagles or Duck. But final goalie, Henrik Tikkanen, stopped 7 of 11 shots for .615 save percentage. Not great at all. Some of the goals he probably could have stopped. Someone who stands 6'9" should be getting in the way of shots a little bit better. There were some deflections. His team could have done better around him as well, but that wasn't great. It really wasn't great from him. I know he'll want to have done better. Obviously, no one wants a .615 save percentage in half a game, but he wasn't the solution for us, but he wasn't the only problem. The players around him stopped playing as well, giving these Rangers those opportunities. So Henrik Tikkanen did not do well. He's obviously going to get an L for today, but don't let that carry too much weight. Please, 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 please. So, all right, to the comments and keep them coming. Keep them coming for the next couple of minutes here. State of survival. We talked about Tsiplikov. Is Tsiplikov any good? He says, I heard he's slow. Yes. His skating stride is not what you would call fast. It is also not molasses in January. I know I was one of the people who said, I'm worried about his skating. I'm worried how his skating will translate to the NHL. We saw the numbers in the KHL. We saw all the goals. We saw all the hits, right? How would that translate to the NHL? And now we've only seen him in a preseason game against what was still a pretty strong Devils lineup, and he did very well. The skating did not hold him back at all. It's clear that Tsiplikov is an NHLer. It's just, where is his ceiling? I've seen people say second line. I've seen him say third line, and I've seen fourth line. I've advocated from the beginning. I think this guy is going to be a great bottom six. Not great. I think his ceiling is a bottom six player. He's probably going to be a fourth liner and maybe at best a third liner, which isn't bad. That's not taking a shot at him. I would love to be a third liner. We need third liners. You need good players on the third line, guys who are tough on the puck, who are strong on the puck, and can play the body. And he does that. Plus, he gives you a little bit more skill. I like Sipakov. I think that's a good find from the Islanders. But let's not, I don't want anyone to come away with this carried away that here we go, top six, Maxim Sipakov. No. Good player. Is he any good? As State of Survival asks, the answer is yes, he is good. Okay, what does Matt AC say on Sipakov? Sipakov had a good showing. His skating is average, but his puck protection is amazing. Yes, he's really good on the puck. It's hard to get him off of it. We'll see how the grind of the regular season does because the KHL doesn't play the same number of games that the NHL does. So we'll see how that goes as the season progresses. To Walter says, wonder when Kincaid gets in there. Yeah, I wonder. I don't think anything's going to come of that PTO. As much as he wants it, I don't think they're going to give him anything. But let's see. They've got a game, as we saw with the schedule here. They have a game. Let's go back to September, which is where we are, against Philadelphia on the 26th and the Devils again on the 27th. Kincaid starts one of those ones. Maybe not starts, but plays in one of those ones, I'm sure. You go through your goalie rotation here. So we'll see the two here, Hoiberg and probably Varley, and then Tikkanen and maybe Kincaid. Well, maybe not. Maybe you switch Hoiberg and Varley to give yourself a good goalie on either night. So to answer your question, Walter, I think one of these two nights is where Kincaid starts, if he even gets one. Then he says, has said they haven't practiced 6-on-5 yet in camp. Makes sense. They just opened camp less than a week ago, right? So it's a lot of get to know your teammates, where you're going to be, the strategy, the identity, all these other things where they haven't practiced some of these specific situations. And they're still going to have lots of time to do that. Again, when you go, they've got another, we're the 24th. So by October 1st, that's still another week from today. They've got 2 weeks of preseason plus a day. Now, I understand the NHL regular season officially starts on the 8th, but the Islanders don't actually play till the 10th. So their preseason is technically 2 days longer than everybody else. So bing, bing, bing. To Vegeta with the Binky says, I think McLean is going to break out this season. What makes you say that? I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just want to give me some of the substance there. I thought he had a good game today. He was fine. He's obviously one of those tenacious players. We saw that with Bridgeport, just a hound on a bone, or dog on a bone, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Really just wants to find that puck and north-south hockey. That's his thing, north-south hockey. And we need players like that, specifically on the fourth line. He's got a motor, doesn't stop working. Excellent. But I really want to know what your rationale is. If you can give it to me in the comments, surmise it. Give me the Coles Notes version of why you think he's going to break out this season. There we go. He's working hard. He always works hard. That goes through the aisles. Yep, that's really all you need to do. It's true, though. Working hard gets you so much in every aspect of life, obviously. Like, this isn't the philosophy corner, but you all know it. If you work hard, good things will happen. He's got enough skill to get him to the NHL. That work ethic just needs to keep going. I think that's kind of what has done Hudson Fasching in. I'm not calling Hudson Fasching lazy or anything or complacent, but I think maybe once he made it, he got that contract, maybe there was a bit of a letdown and it was able to be passed by other players. Hopefully he can change that, because I really miss that Hudson Fasching when he busted out onto the scene and really took the team by storm. I really want that Hudson Fasching back. And then Walter, final comment here, maybe not final, but a comment here about McLean being that he's cheap, which is important for us because we're right up against the cap, right? Like, we're over it technically by $950,000. When I switch here to cap wages, you can see the Isles are over by $950,000. Of course, they still have Rustin Shukov on the roster, but disregard that because he's very much playing in Russia. Someone's going to have to move here. But if you can get someone like Kyle McLean on $775,000 for 2 more years after this, that's a win, man. That's such a massive win. It's not even funny considering you've got this anchor of a maybe not anchor of a contract, but this massive contract at $3 million for a bajillion years. So woof. But that's it. The Islanders lose 6-4 to the New York Rangers in the second preseason game. It's not fun. It was fun until it very much wasn't at the end. They score 6 goals in the final 7 minutes. We all went like, not again, not this again. But it's only preseason, people. Let's take a relaxing pill. Let's take a night off. Don't go to work upset tomorrow. It's just preseason. We still have 2 more weeks. Don't worry. Don't fret. But thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that little subscribe button. It would mean the world to us. And if you want more content, head over to our Patreon channel. That's patreon.com/uptheturnpike, where we get podcasts twice a week. We get some live streams where we follow the game live, watch parties with you. You have Eagle or Duck after every game, and a live Discord channel. More stuff there on patreon.com. So please follow along. And as Vegeta's with a binky says, peace.